alternator. Hey everybody. You know, we have fun. Hey everybody. You know, hit like and subscribe. You know. Right here, right now. It's John Myers. You know. We like to give stuff away. Alternator. Post some more pictures. You know. We got to thank Steve and Becky live from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Don't forget Texas Roadhouse right here, right now. You know. Hey everybody. Don't forget right here, right now. We have got a great show tonight. Hey everybody. Had a great dinner tonight. It's John Myers. Right here, right now. Had a great dinner tonight. You know. So, hey everybody. So, housekeeping. Had a great dinner tonight. So, alternator. Housekeeping. You know. Housekeeping. So, Tuesday night. Housekeeping. You know. From the Kicker Unmasked Studios. Housekeeping. Right here, right now. Hey everybody. So, it's John Myers. Hey everybody. It's John Myers from the Kicker Unmasked Studios. Hey everybody. From the Kicker Unmasked Studios. It's John Myers. Right here, right now. We have got a great show tonight. Hey everybody. We have got a great show tonight. You know. It's John Myers. Hey everybody.
Right here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. It must be Tuesday, 7:30, Facebook and YouTube. No, wait, that's the teaser. Sorry, different reel in my head. I'm Aaron Malin, Kicker Tech Force. I am your host tonight, and Little John is my co-host. He doesn't say much, but he points a lot. In fact, the real John Myers was supposed to be here tonight, but John has been working so incredibly hard. Actually, I saw someone in the feed said they saw John at a show this past weekend. I think that was up in Washington or Oregon, that wet part of the country right now. So John was up there attending a show along with Aaron Surratt. He was there, and who's the other guy? Yeah, Jeremy Brown. I just saw those guys today. So they were up there at that car show having a great time, and they said that it was a fantastic event even though it was raining. So thank you for hanging out with those guys. And also Bobby Burkett, I saw that you logged in at 4:28 p.m. 2 Tuesdays ago. It was like 2:30. So man, what, did you take a long nap or something? Good for you, buddy. So tonight we have another skeleton crew. There's just 3 of us working the studio tonight. We've got Ernie, wave, hello. There's Ernie and the colonizer. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. And what you didn't see is that we had a snafu. So for the last 30 minutes, we've been running around chickens, no heads, trying to get things working for you guys and girls. So if you see any weird glitches or anything strange happen, it's a computer problem, not a staff problem. So let's see who's with us tonight. Oh yeah, we also shrunk everything down, so I've got to use my binoculars to read. Hi-Fi Vega, yeah, you better be here tonight. You're one of our guests. And Derek Williston, also a guest tonight. And for the first time ever, Parker the Basshead. For the first time on Unmasked, we're going to get to meet Parker and hang out with him as well. So 3 fantastic guests tonight. So please stick around. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. welcome back. And Tony, I just saw in the feed here that you're blaming Ernie for not reading the directions. Interesting thought. Ernie is not known for his direction reading ability, so it is quite possible that that was the snafu, but I digress. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here again, and we're going to bring our guests into the live part of the game tonight. So, Ernie, can you flick the magic switches and bring everybody in all at the same time? Does it work like that? Derek, hello. Robert, good evening. Parker, hello for the first time ever. It's nice to meet you. Oh, hold on. The snafu has to unmute everybody.
Okay, try again. This thing working?
There we go. Yeah, I got you. I can hear you now.
Hey, Aaron.
I'm good.
How about Vega? I can't hear Vega. They chose to use himself. He muted himself. That's not mine. Rob, we think you're muted.
Vega, you're muted, buddy.
Listen. There it is.
We got you.
He did that on purpose to make you guys sweat.
Oh, man.
So Vega's the snafu, is that correct? Vega. Oh, messing with our stuff here, are
Now,
you?
who do I blame now that Bill Frog's not here? I mean, who is that? All go to Ernie, I guess.
No, the colonizer.
Okay. All right, Colin. It's all you, bro.
Yeah, Colin's the guy. And actually, I got to turn you guys up just a second here. Because I'm getting older and I've listened to a lot of bass, I got to turn up my volume a little.
Need your ear protection, Aaron.
Yeah, people used to laugh at me when I'd wear hearing protection, and now they can't hear me. So there you go.
That's right. Well, thanks for having us, man. I appreciate you letting us join the Kicker live stream tonight. We're excited to get started and answer questions and talk about some old school stuff and all kind of fun things.
If we could, since we've got some folks that don't actually know our guests, would you like to give a couple minutes of just who you are and how you became part of the industry? And we'll start with you, Derek.
Sure. I am a born and bred car audio enthusiast. So I've actually never worked in the car audio industry. I tried one time. It's kind of the Michael Jordan story, I guess, of trying to get the job and didn't quite make it because I didn't have any experience. And I said, well, how do I get a job if I don't have experience? Get the experience. But anyway, right. I've always been kind of a car audio nerd. So studying everything I can, books and magazines and history, and I'm really enthralled with the history of car audio and where it started, especially with Kicker, at 1980 with the original Kicker box. Know they started years before that with Pro Audio, but as far as me, it was the late 80s. My brother had a system in his RX-7, and just sitting in there, just kind of getting that feeling of being in a concert just kind of blew me away. So I just kind of through the years, just got into and out of car audio for a little bit, but then about 15 years ago or so, I started a YouTube channel and said, hey, I'm just going to show some cool stuff that I found and talk about it a little bit. And that's where we are today, Wilson Audio Labs. I'm on YouTube. I'm also doing an old school stereo channel. And I just play with the audio and have fun and make reviews and test amps and just have a lot of fun. And I met these guys below me. They're both great guys, and I'm glad to be part of the community, and thanks for having me tonight.
Oh, thank you, Derek. That's a great story. 15 years on YouTube. Has YouTube been around 15 years?
They've been around since 2006, I think. So,
wow. Yeah. That's great. Okay, so Robert, Mr. Hi-Fi Vega, what's your story, sir?
So I've been an enthusiast forever. I was the kid that had the Crutchfield magazines and was planning out a system before you even had a car. Yeah. I was circling it and writing it out and drawing the graphs and drawing hand diagrams. And I got out of car audio for a while. I picked up, believe it or not, this is not just a Kicker story, an XS50, which was I was into cheater amps around 2000. Yeah. That was my main. But I wanted to pick up something I never got. So I picked that up and I was like, I wonder if anyone's done a review on this. They have. But the knucklehead above me had done a video on the ZR-1000, and he is the reason. He's the reason. And if anybody doesn't like me, it's Derek's fault.
I can't believe it. No.
Because he got me all the way back into car audio. I met Derek at the first meet they had, and we just become fast friends. And Derek's probably the only person that's as hard-headed as me that I know. Everybody, so we just fit in like gloves, and love car audio. And my channel is mostly focused on learn with me. I may not know this, but we're gonna learn together. You can watch me mess up, and then I'll be like, hey, I did this wrong.
That's great. Both you guys, one of the words that keeps coming to my mind is an incredible level of humility in your presentation of yourself, but also your channels and the product you work with. And I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you for that.
Oh. Appreciate it. I've got a saying that my father gave me years ago, and it's a little pencil holder. And I don't know if you guys can read this, but it says, "It's hard to be humble when you're as great as I am." So that's words to live for. Everybody
awesome.
Remember that.
Wow. Well, Parker, you've got quite a couple of acts to follow here. So Parker, please tell us who you are, sir.
What is going on, guys? So I was just thinking about this. I've been into car audio about a decade now. I'm 28, and when I was 17, I got my license, and then soon after that, I had a buddy who had a couple subs in his car, and I thought they were really cool, and he needed some money for something, so I bought them off of him and hooked them up. Me and my dad Jerry rigged it into my actually it was my mom's car at the time. Me and her were sharing a car, so I'm not sure if she appreciated that or not.
Nope.
I had two Kenwood 12s, so that was fun. And then actually my second pair of subs was two old kicker comps, so that was cool. Everybody had a pair of those, but anyway, I got into the YouTube around 2018. I just started making reviews for fun, and a really big point in my YouTube career. I remember on one of my first videos, I reviewed an amp, and Derek commented on it. He said he appreciated the review because I had shouted him out, and he was one of my favorite YouTubers getting started, and I really appreciated that. That gave me a lot of ambition, and just really excited me to keep making videos, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. Well, Parker, I got to tell you that Jacob Lucky is the gentleman on my team and here at Kicker, and he brought you to our attention. And he said, this guy Parker, man, you gotta watch this guy. We got to get involved with this guy, and so you came on our radar, and we've been watching you a little while, and just like the other two guys in the show, we love what you do. We love the energy you bring, the enthusiasm, and again the humility, and that's a wonderful thing. So thanks for being a part of this tonight, and in this industry as well.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, Aaron, and it goes without saying also that Parker probably is one of the fastest growing car audio YouTube channels I've ever seen, because he blew up really fast, and he knew what people wanted to see, and did a great job, and hit 100,000 subscribers in a relatively short time frame, I believe, compared to most people who do this, because it's not easy. And Parker's really smart with finding out what people want to see. Blowing up subs, they love to see that. He uses a lot of fireworks and stuff, and it's awesome. But yeah, he's done a great job with that, and with the younger audience as well. He's got them engaged because he's got a great personality too.
Thank you.
Well, Ernie was just hollering at me saying that Mr. Steve Irby is very aware of Parker the Basshead. So you've got a fan right here at Kicker, at the top of Kicker. So well done, Parker.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
So hey, we've got some questions. We've got the first question. Good evening, Lil H138. Mr. Parker, congrats on your recent marriage. What?
Yes, sir.
You're newly married. You've been upgraded from boyfriend to husband.
Yes,
well
sir.
Done, sir.
I appreciate
that's
it. Thank
fantastic. Wow. So, turbo thruster engaged. Next question. What kind of woofers are you guys blowing your money on these days? Big amps and the works. Okay, so Weefer, he says weefers, but yeah, so what kind of weefers are we blowing up, these guys? Go ahead, Derek, you're on top, so we'll take you first. What are you blowing up?
Well, I have had a lot of fun with the L7X. It's been several months since I finally got my hands on the 12-inch, and I think most of the people in the chat maybe, and a lot of people that are watching this probably have seen the video where we fed over 12,000 watts into that L7X to blow it up. Did a few videos with some smoke, using the smoke machine just to have a little fun, and the L7Xs are really killer subs, and I've bought some cheapy subs here lately that I'm gonna mess around with and blow up, but I haven't done nearly what Parker has done. He's the expert, I think, here in blowing up subs, so I'll pass the torch.
Okay, Parker, you're up. What are you blowing up now?
I would say some of my favorite stuff to blow up is to go onto Amazon or eBay and find some of the most random, just really cheap kind of random Chinese stuff that I can find, and that they always give crazy ratings, and
yes,
they always have big plastic boots on them, and it's fun to get them, and some of them do well and some of them don't, but regardless, it's fun to hook them up and see some sparks fly. So
yeah, what kind of amplifiers are you using to blow your stuff up, Parker?
I normally use tar amps.
Okay.
Because they put out a lot of power, and they're pretty cheap. So if I blow them, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah, I gotcha. Mr. Hi-Fi, what are you blowing up these days?
Well, funny story. I have, as you know, I have the L7X12. That's the first one I got. Took it to a show in the spring. I had the Recone kit because Ernie already knew I was probably going to get crazy with it.
Yeah.
I'm at the show. We're going full tilt. We're going into clipping. We're tripping. We're doing everything, and giving full-on demos. And you can smell that voice coil. And all of a sudden, conked out. Right. So I'm like, oh geez, I blew it up. I blew up the L7. I'll take it home. I'll recone it. I take out the cone. Cone's fine. I blew the amp up. It blew the amp up, and the sub was fine. So I haven't blown up any subs recently.
Nice.
It's funny, Robert, about that is that because the speaker is the only thing in the audio system you can actually hear when it stops working, everybody blames the speaker, right?
Yeah.
But it's not always the case. So I'm glad you brought that story up. Thank you for that. So more questions, Ernie. We've got a lot of guys asking a ton of questions. Aaron Lackey, good evening, sir. Thanks for being here. Where is the L7Q class replacement? I guess this question is for me. So L7Q class replacement, all I can say is that there is something coming, and it is worth waiting for. So please, sir, be patient, because there is something you're going to love coming. And that's all I can say. Joseph Kennan, good evening, Joseph. How many old school kicker subs you got, Derek? How many you got?
I've probably got a half dozen or so. Not a ton, not a lot. I have a few of the kicker free airs, the original free air subs,
nice.
And they're just kind of dangling up in the garage because I think they're either too old or blown, or the surround has come loose.
Yes.
But it's a good question and perfect segue to this.
Okay, we like segues.
Some of you guys may know what this is. Some of you may not. This is a gold letter solo barrack. This is the original solo barrack that started it all back in, I will say, 92, I think. You can see the magnet on the back, nice and beefy.
Yeah.
So this is, you have to put a lot of thanks to Kicker for this, coming out with this sub, because this is really what started the whole solo barrack craze and doing the, half of the box size needed, because they pretty much took two woofers, put them together, and determined how to make one woofer act like two in isobaric configuration. And that's what this is, the original gold letter solo barrack. And this is an 8-inch, and it's very heavy because it has to have double the mass, double the magnet of a standard driver back then. But yeah, very cool. I love these, and they still work, and I've got some videos of them flexing. So very cool, old school.
Derek, do you remember the box sizes required for those? I know
0.33 for the 8.
And 0.66
for the
10.
10.
0.88 for the 12.
0.88 for the 12. I don't remember the one for the 15.
I don't either because the first ones weren't. They
Yeah.
didn't have 15s in the first series. I don't think.
About 1.5.
1.5.
About
Yeah,
1.5.
half.
So the funny story, when I was working in retail in Fort Collins, Colorado, I worked at a retailer called Soundtrack. And we carried all the top car audio brands except Kicker, because the guys down the street had locked up Kicker before we were able to get on top of it. So I had a customer come in and he said, hey, I want to put some subs in my pickup truck. What do you got that works in this given space, in this single cab? This is before 4 doors were common, single cab pickup. And I said, well, geez, if you want to give up half the cab, I can put something in the seat next to you, but that's about it. So he goes down the street, he gets the original Solo Barrick 8-inch woofer. And just to show it off, he comes back to my shop, and I sat in his truck and I went, oh my God, this tiny little enclosure with this 8-inch woofer was rattling my teeth. That was my first experience with Kicker Solo Barrick. So, wow, what an impressive sub.
I have one to show off along that. So you passed Derek's desk. Who remembers this?
Yeah, Mohawk.
Yeah.
That was me before the show, by the way.
This is the only old school Kicker sub I have here with me. Everything else is new, but he shut off the magnet. So let's show off the impressive magnet on this one.
And I think the other one you had, Rob, is in the Kicker
Yeah,
Museum.
the other two. I had a trio of them, and I sent the other ones to the museum.
Thank you.
For you guys to have, but I had to keep one because they're just too cool. And these were new old stock or refurbs. But I'll show you the front first. Really cool design, and look at that beefy magnet there.
Wow.
Well, we have to all remember, though, this is back in the day when efficiency was king. We didn't have a whole lot of power. Everything was $2 to $5 per watt. So we're looking for efficiency and not for big, thick subwoofers.
We're back.
Whoa.
We're back. We're back. Okay. And you guys shuffled. You played musical chairs on me. Jeez, guys.
Hey, when the lights went out, Parker hit me.
I got to change my seating chart over here now. It's like Parker's wedding. Who's sitting where? No, we can't put her next to your mom. No way. All right, so the next question is Todd Wolf. Good evening, Todd. Thanks for being here. What is everyone's favorite setup they had or seen in the past or now? So Parker, your favorite setup that you've seen in the past or even today?
I have seen way too many cool setups to answer that, but the favorite setup I've ever had, my favorite sub would have to be the Sundown X, just because of the X Max that those things have, and that's like the perfect size sub for me. It's big and beefy, but it's not too heavy. Now, yeah. I will say I have not had the pleasure of getting to test out a L7X yet, so that could be up there if I tried one out. But
I mean,
Parker, you're smooth, dude.
I'm gonna translate. Ernie, you're slipping. Ernie, you're slipping.
Ernie's got some steam rolling out his ears now. His budget's blowing up. Robert, what about you, sir? What's your favorite current setup?
So this is going to sound like another setup for a setup, because my favorite setup was I had a system with 4 Orion HCCA 225s, and I had 4 XPL.
XPL, yeah.
The first gen, the really efficient ones with the rib cone. And they were in the hugest field enclosure you could see, and they were angled. And I had them in a Zuzu Rodeo in '96,
nice.
And they were facing like this. And that system was intense. And that was just one 225 on on all four of them, and they were 2-ohm models. That was my big beef with Kicker back in the day. You guys didn't use dual voice coils. It was all single. You had to get 2 or 4. So when I switched amps, I had to go and trade my subs in and get different.
Sorry, man. Derek, what about you, sir?
Yeah, so I never had what I'd call a bass head system, but probably my favorite system was in a 92 Honda Prelude SI with 5-speed. And that car, I don't know what it was about the front stage, but the way that the tweeters mounted up in the dash and the factory woofers or the factory doors. Had Boston Acoustics Pro Series in the front. I had MTX Blue Thunder subs in the back and a single 4-channel Rockford Punch 400 X4. And it was incredible. I had an Alpine 7903 that I'd had for like 8 years, and that thing still worked, and it was just a great head unit. So it was very clear, very simple system, but to this day, it was just something that I really enjoyed. It was quite a setup. And the funny thing about the subs is back in the day, I don't know how many people remember this, but MTX offered a 10-year warranty on their subs back in the late 80s or early 90s. And I used that and got about 4 pairs of subs over 10 years. But the last time I called them, they didn't even think it was right. They're like, there's no way we did 10-year warranty on our subs. I'm like, I've got the receipt, and it says it right here. But, I definitely got my money out of those. But that was a fun setup.
That's awesome. Great. Ernie, we got good evening, Andy. Living Loud with Andy. Hello. Question for the guys on screen. What was your first kicker experience? I think we've heard a couple of them already, but let's go with you, Parker. What's your first kicker experience?
I had, when I was probably 18 or so, I had a buddy. He had an old pair of kicker comps that were in an old prefab box, and this is 10 years ago, and they were old then. But like the box the box had got all wet. The carpet was like peeling off. It was a beat up old system, but I got it. I bought new carpet. I like recarpeted it, and those subs were great for a free pair of 12s. Had that in a little Subaru Outback, and it was a ton of fun to bump around in.
So your first bass was free bass.
Well, my first kicker bass.
That's kind.
Yes. Got it. Okay. Robert, your first kicker experience.
So I like I said, I was a big Orion, and back, there's a lot of division in car audio now. But back in the day, it was, as far as amps went in my era, it was you were Rockford Fosgate or you were Orion. That was it. Yeah. And kicker was in the mix for subs, so they were some of the best subs you could get, even though you guys did make amps during this time. Right. So I was competing in the 0 to 150 class.
Wow.
Or no, 0 to 50 class. Excuse me. It was 1-225, and I absolutely got smoked by somebody with the XS50. And it wasn't until like 2015 that I realized that an XS50 was actually doing 600 to 800 watts versus 350 watts with the typical 225. So so I missed out a ton, but I knew right there I got smacked in the face with that. And I was like,
That's cool. Good. Derek, what about you, sir?
Yeah, I have a couple of pretty interesting little early kicker stories of my experience. One, remember hatchbacks used to be, the thing back in the mid to late 80s into the mid 90s or so. Hatchbacks were everywhere. Well, there were also full range speaker boxes available during this time, even though today we think, why you want the sound coming from behind you? Back then, we didn't really care, because if it got loud enough and it sounded good enough, it's okay. But had a friend with a Nissan Pulsar NX, and those who don't know what that is, it's like a Fiero with a hatchback. It's a very small car.
Removable hatchback.
Removable.
You can do the fastback on it too.
That's right. But he had the Kicker Super 2, which is the full range box with the 2 8-inch, the 2 horns, and the 2 passive 10-inch passives on the bottom. And only a Punch 45 Rockford amplifier powering it, but it sounded really good in that car. So that was my experience with Kicker, saying, wow, these guys know what they're doing. But also, the first real experience with the Solo Barracks was the Solo Barrack 12s. I went to a local shop. This is the one that I applied for. Didn't get the job, by the way. But the guy had a Mitsubishi Eclipse, the first generation Mitsubishi Eclipse, and he had 2 Soloberic 12s, the original ones, and he had a Punch 150 amplifier on those. And I got in his car and I thought I was listening to 15s. I was blown away that they were in a 1 cubic foot each box. And I almost bought them that day. I remember they were $200 each, and I think that was a discount because I think they were really like $250 or so each retail. But I almost left there with those 12s, but I said I'm gonna think about it. But they really, it was unbelievable at the time that 2 12s and 2 sealed boxes could do this well. But yeah, that definitely put Kicker on the radar for me, saying this is some great products.
Oh, that's great, man. Those hatchbacks, those Eclipses, you could put tweeters back there and get bass out of them. Unbelievable, a cabin gain in a hatchback.
Yeah.
J-Dog, good evening, sir. Thanks for being here. Derek, I like that Wilson Audio Lab shirt you had on the show. I wouldn't mind rocking one of those if you sell them.
Yes, I do. If you go to any of my videos on the YouTube channel, Wilson Audio Labs, and look in the video description, there's a link that goes over to the shirt page. What we decided to do years ago, and I know some of the creators have to do this, is we don't buy the shirts and resell them ourselves because it's really hard to know what sizes to buy. So we use a third party that does the print on demand. So you just order them and then they print them and then they send them. I don't really have anything in between that other than making about $1 on each shirt. But yeah, they're available there if you go to any of the videos and just look in the video description. And I appreciate the support. And hopefully I'm gonna do some new designs coming up soon, so stay tuned for that.
Fantastic. Ernie, next question. Joseph, good evening, sir. Parker did a lot of reviews on round kicker subs, smallest to the biggest, as he did the L7's loaded enclosure also. What sub was your favorite of the kicker subs that you've reviewed?
Oh my goodness.
Favorite kicker sub?
I think I like the CVRs the best. It's kind of hard to remember. That was about 3 years ago.
Oh wow!
I've done a lot of subs since then. I don't remember why. The CVRs stand out. There was something about them. The bang for the buck that it worked out, and I remember in enjoying them a lot.
That makes sense, Parker, because the CVR has been one of the kicker best-selling subs of all time. The CVR name is synonymous with kicker bass, just like L7 and Soloberic. So it's an iconic sub, and actually, without trying to say too much, when it comes time to refresh an iconic woofer like a CVR, we have to be very, very careful. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Next question. Swizzle Stick. I hope I said that right. Good evening. Thanks for being here. Hi-Fi. What's going into the new truck?
Well, I haven't decided yet. Me and Derek talked about this. I've been waffling. I'm getting a new vehicle. Don't know what it is. But either way, I think I'm going with the LT7s and the downfire and enclosure, because whether I get a small SUV or a truck, I want something that doesn't take up too much room. I can stack stuff on top of it.
Yes.
As far as the front stage and amps, I don't know. I mean, as soon as you guys release, the full-on DSP, well, then we may be talking.
Hint, hint.
When are you buying that truck?
Yes.
Good question. Good question. So the L7T, that is John Mayer's new favorite woofer, aside from the L7X, of course. That is his new favorite woofer. Bang for buck in a small box. Wow, great performer.
And for people that's never heard John Mayer's truck, he has coax in the front, 6x9s in the door, and I think he has L7Ts in the back. And it is for as simple a system as it is, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, he's got more mid bass than most people have sub bass.
Yeah.
Car audio enthusiast, good evening. Thank you for being here. What's your favorite enclosure type for loud systems? 4th order, 6th order, transmission line, etc. Parker, we'll start with you. What's your favorite enclosure style?
6th order.
6th order. And what about 6th order do you really love?
I like if you do it right, you can have more room for more subs, and this can be true with either setup, I suppose, but you do have room for a longer band range as far as being a little bit more musical or
sure
doing better than
that's
a 4th order.
That's a good point, because you don't want just the one note bass. You want to hear the range of frequencies. So yeah, that's good. Good. Derek, what about you, sir? What's your favorite enclosure system?
Yeah, for the loud system, I would say whatever Kyle Rutherford is using. Somebody can help me. I think it's probably
explode. Go boom.
I think it's probably a 6 order. And JP at Down for Sound, whatever they're using. I got demos on those vehicles this past weekend, and literally, I thought my breath was just taken away from both of them. They were truly amazing. And Kyle's didn't even have the windshield in, so we were losing a lot of that pressure. And there were some of the notes that hit that I think my heart stopped.
It was shaking my hat. I was about 6 feet in front of the vehicle while Derek was getting a videoing him, and it was shaking my hat.
Yeah, so somebody can help in the chat if they know what Kyle uses. I don't remember exactly which method. I think it's a 6 order, but I'm not certain.
I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Yeah.
Robert, what about you, sir? What's your favorite?
Well, I've never had a truly loud system, and on the scale of loudness today, so I'd have to defer to Parker on that one for sure. But for I like T-lines because they're pretty efficient. I don't think you're going to get as loud with the T-line, but they're very efficient, and you can get pretty loud off a little bit of power.
Yeah,
I would have to say probably for myself, I would go ported, standard ported for myself in my vehicle.
Sure.
But I don't need anything really over 140 dB, for daily driving. I just that to me is just plenty loud. I know some people want louder, but to me, once you get louder than that, you start damaging, start breaking things. And I'd rather just have a car that's a little bit more reliable, but still get down when you want to. And in my experience, the ported gives me that boost right around the frequencies that I like it.
We were in the listening lab today. R&D invited a whole bunch of us to audition some new subwoofers we're working on. And so we had, I won't tell you what it was set up in there, but we had a very powerful system set up. And I was walking around the room because, in any listening environment, you get different nodes as you move around the room. And I walked into the corner, and suddenly I couldn't hear any of the words. All I could feel was the pressure on my head, and I thought, okay, that's not fun to listen to anymore. I can't hear anything but the bam, 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 bam. So I'm with you, man. 140, that's plenty.
Yeah. Well, I think as we get older, not saying that I don't still like the loud stuff, which the vehicles I set in, the bass was so low, it didn't really hurt your ears, but it just definitely affected the organs and the inside my body and their location, I think.
And I think that's part of why Parker's channel grew so much, because Derek and I, we enjoy basshead stuff. We love it, but we're not like Parker is in it. He is a basshead. They can tell like we're kind of on the outside looking in, but Parker he's Parker the basshead. So yeah, he's genuine, and he just enjoys it.
Saltine Cracker, good evening, sir. My first kicker bass experience, I'll never forget listening to Sir Mix-a-Lot, yes, mid-90s, Washington State on the Strip, where a red Mazda B2000 pickup, my dad had one of those, on the ground with a snug with 10 original black gold. Black gold, that was MTX, I think, right? Yes. MTX Black Gold, yeah, that's right, mini truck scene.
Anything other than My Posse's on Broadway.
Oh, that's great, good story, thank you. JJ, good evening, sir. Thanks for being here. I just got my 2 key LOCs. That's the key lock. That's our little un-DSP box today, and I'm going to be installing them with a Key 204, which is also our DSP amplifier. Is it possible to do the setup on 2 key LOCs at the same time, or should I do them one at a time? Do them one at a time. You definitely want to do them one at a time, and be sure that you finish the first setup, get it finalized, locked in, and then you want to go to the second one and get that finalized and locked in, and then go ahead and use your Key 204 and do it set up third and final. So good question, thank you.
Would you want to do that to get a front and rear fade? Is that why you'd want to do it instead of just taking the one set of RCAs out and splitting them off?
So there's probably 2 ways that he could be doing this. He might be doing front and rear like you suggested, and that way he'll have front to rear fader. But he might also be taking the factory mid and or mid-high with 1 key LOC, and then the door speakers, the mid-range mid-bass drivers with the second LOC. So he might be wanting to correct those separately and then doing just a front stage fully active. So there's two different ways he might be doing that, but good question, thank you. Frank Intermission, good name, Frank. Good evening. What's the best approach for setting equalizers for bass subwoofers? Parker, what do you like to do for setting EQs on your subs?
I mean, I suppose it depends. I mean, it depends on several things, of course. Oh dear. It depends on what notes you're really trying to hit, and there's so many. It depends on the settings, what settings your amp has, what settings your head unit has. If you have a equalizer in there somewhere, normally I'll set the head unit. I'll set the low pass to anything below 80 or so around there. Again, kind of depending on what amp I'm running and what sub set up, and then from there I'll fine tune it on the amp itself.
Yeah. Good. So you're doing mostly by ear then? Is that
Yes.
your
Yes.
favorite method? Okay, by ear. Okay, good. Derek, what about you, sir?
I have a smart answer and a real answer. The smart answer is you set the V pattern, because the V pattern always sounds the best, right? And the V means you raise the bass all the way up and you raise the treble all the way up. And leave the mid in the middle, kind of a swoop like that. It's guaranteed to sound the best, because if you do it on an EQ and you push flat and then you push V pattern, you're always going to smile more with the V pattern.
Yes, sir.
So that's recommendation number one. That goes back all the way to the old school when they had like 10 bands and you could slide them, yourself. Yep. Some people would slide all the bands up, which, that's not going to work the best. But just give a V pattern and it works. But kind of like Parker was getting at for the serious answer, it's one of these, there's not truly one answer that solves everybody, because some people may listen to podcasts and want to turn the bass down so you don't feel your car rumble as you hear the male voice speak.
Yes.
So it's definitely dependent on the vehicle and the person as to how you want to set that. But I would caution people, to using a bass EQ too much in a vehicle, especially if you don't really know what you're doing, because you can overdrive an amplifier by turning your bass EQ up too much, because all you're essentially doing is boosting up the power that's coming out at that specific frequency. And if you don't have enough, amplifier to push that much power, then you will have clipping, you will have problems. So just be easy with it and use your ears, and don't damage them, but use them. And when it starts sounding bad, you just tune it back the other way.
Excellent. Robert, what about you, sir? How do you like to adjust your bass, your subs?
I'm a huge DSP guy. I think everything should have DSP on it. So I set my entire front stage up separately from the subwoofer. I get it EQ'd the way I want it. I then go into the subwoofer, try it flat. If there's nothing crazy going on with the subwoofer that I need to correct, I kind of leave it flat if I can. And then I'll run it like negative 16 dB. And I just use the sub as kind of the gravy. So if I want to show off, I can turn it up. I set my gain to clipping. So on my knob, I have full extension if I want to. But I kind of phase it in and out to my system, depending on what I'm listening to. And if you get someone in there that's like, oh, you're Hi-Fi Vega, they don't want to hear SQ. They want to hear the sub. In case I'm turning the sub up. So I like to keep it separate from the main system.
Yeah. Derek, I want to point out one thing you were talking about. When guys push the EQ, everything all the way up, of course, that's just like turning everything up on your volume knob. But for guys that may be getting into car audio or a little bit newer, when you set your gain and then you adjust the bass boost, you have to go back to the gain and decrease the gain by the same amount that you just boosted the equalizer. And the reason you want to do that is because once you set your gain so it's not clipping, and then you hit the bass boost, suddenly it's going to clip at that frequency like Derek said. So you got to reduce the gain by the same amount so that amount of boost doesn't clip the output. So just a quick explanation on how to do that properly, because you can use bass boost without blowing stuff up, but you have to do it intelligently. So thanks, Derek. That's a great point. Brian Park, question. Good evening, sir. What's your go-to bass song to test out a new set of subs? Parker, what's your favorite go-to bass tune?
If I had to pick, I would. I mean, there's so many wonderful options, but if I had to pick, DJ Dirty Bass did a remix of God's Country by Blake Shelton, and it just, for whatever reason, it sounds really, really good. Hits those lower frequencies really, really well. Anything, it's like, I would say it's probably high 20s to low 40s. It plays everything in there really well. It's a really good song.
I'm writing that down. Thank you. I'm going to check that out. Robert, what's your favorite go-to for bass?
I'm looking it up here. I got to get you guys the name so you guys can look it up. It is, Derek, you might be able to help me. I think it's called Big D Whiz in the Trunk. My best buddy.
It's just called Big D Whiz, I think, on Spotify. Yeah.
Yeah, Big D Whiz by Nick Genre. So when your buddy, one of your best friends in the world, has a rap song made about him, you test yourself with that song.
That's awesome. I got to check that out.
It's not child friendly.
Yeah, not family friendly, because I remember when he first sent it to me, I played it in the room with my kids and my wife, and I'm like, oh, I need to stop this. So, just be warned. It definitely does get down though.
Midnight Munchies, good evening. Bass Boy and Techmaster PEB. Yeah, Techmaster. That's vintage, but it's good.
Well, I also want to give one shout. I might be stealing yours. Bassatronics, Bass I Love You. Probably the greatest bass song.
That was mine. And I have some really weird ones that people, you know how sometimes, especially back in the 90s, a lot of people didn't realize certain songs had good bass because they didn't have subwoofers.
Yep.
But there's some Phil Collins songs back from the 90s that had good bass. There's some Chicago songs, which, normally you think Chicago, you're thinking big band. But in the Peter Cetera days of Chicago, some of their slower songs, I'm serious, if you go back and listen to them, you're going to hear that really low, deep bass that you probably think, wow, I never heard that before.
Your real bass pick, though, the one that I like to
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Go ahead, you can say it.
7 Rings, Ariana Grande.
Nice.
That one's good. Hold on, there's one more that's really good, too. And this is going to shock people. It is... I can't say the whole name of the song because it's not family friendly, but it's a Taylor Swift song. And Rob, do you remember the name of it? It's something. Hold on, I'm gonna have to look it up. We might have to move on, but I'll come back to it and tell you. But it's a really good song for bass, and it will shock you, especially that it's a Taylor Swift song. It's called.
Aaron, did you have a favorite bass song that you play?
When Derek brought up Chicago and some of those bands from my era, I was thinking I used to really like ZZ Top. They had their greatest hits album was properly mixed, and there was some great bass lines in there, and a lot of it, of course, was upper, more like mid-bass stuff.
Yeah.
But the systems I had back then, I was usually mostly 8s and 10s, so I wasn't into the 15s or 18s. So ZZ Top just rocked, man. I can still hear it in my head right now. Actually, gives me goosebumps. But I was a big fan of the Crystal Method. Back when they came out on the scene. That was some great music, like holy cow. In a previous lifetime, I worked for Polk Audio, and I had a demo truck with 8 of our 12, Momo 12s in it, in a small sealed boxes, so it played really low, really clean, and Crystal Method would just give me chills. 40 hertz. So yeah, that was good stuff.
The Taylor Swift song is Vigilante Stuff. And the second word is not stuff. You have to try it. Even though the beginning, the bass starts kind of high, it drops down, and you will not believe it. In fact, a little side note here. Sorry for taking your time, Aaron, but we went to a concert because I have daughters, and I was waiting for that song because I'm like, they spent millions on this sound system. It's going to shake everybody's seats in here. I was kind of disappointed. The bass didn't hit that hard, but oh well. It hits hard with the real system.
Yeah, it may have been your location in the stadium, too. Could have been that, because I know Taylor Swift, she spends whatever she wants to on her audio, so
Yeah.
I'm sure it was fantastic, in the right seats, of course.
Yeah.
Bikes and bass. High output alternator or upgrade battery first? High output alternator, upgrade battery. Parker, what do you think on that, sir?
That's a really good question. I would say if you just need a little bit of extra headroom, doing a battery is often the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Of course, you want to be careful if you're putting it inside your vehicle, of course, but
It needs to explode. Go boom.
exactly.
Is that Ernie playing?
That being said, if you have the time and the expertise and you can afford to do it all, I mean, having that foundation is really the proper way to go.
Nice, good. Derek, what about you, sir? What's your first upgrade?
Yeah, I think it's a good point that Parker brings up, because you need to decide where you're going to in the future. Because if you know you want to do a big system, then you might as well go ahead with the alternator. But if you just need some extra, like maybe have a 2,000 watt amp, 2,500 watt amp, and your factory alternator just not quite enough, then in a lot of cases an extra battery will give you that extra boost that you need. But if you're planning on going, bigger than that, then I would say you definitely need to consider not only the high output alternator, but then what type of battery system you're going to use. And there's so much complexity out there these days with lithium and what chemistry to use and what brand to use and whether you want to do it DIY or whether you want to buy something that's already done. So there's a lot involved, and that's the thing I think a lot of people don't consider when they talk about going to a larger system. Is I might spend $1,200 on an amplifier, but you have to be prepared to spend at least that much or more on your electrical system, because you can't create power out of the sky. You have to have the power to create the power.
Right.
And I just think that, especially online, we try to push it and tell people, we make videos of amplifiers saying, you're really going to need a bank of batteries and, a high output alternator or multiple to be able to run this. So it depends on what your goals are. And if you just think you're going to go 2,000, 2,500 watts, then you can probably get by with just an extra battery. But if you're going big, then you definitely need to probably start with the foundation and go ahead and get an alt.
Robert, anything to add?
Yeah, I would agree with everything they said, with the exception of what realistically you can do power-wise. Under 5,000 watts, I think you could probably get a pretty nice lithium bank and kind of sidestep the alt if you need to. But if you're going to go past that, it's definitely, you're talking, you need to get your alt. If you're, like Derek said, if you're looking to the future and you need to do that anyways, get the alt. If you're a moderate power system, which it sounds ridiculous to say 5,000 watts is moderate power. And, up until 5 years ago, I never had nothing more than 1,500 watts in my vehicle. So
2 weeks ago, we did a show about big power systems, and we had a couple of guests, one from Excess Power, Sean, and we had Tony from MechMan Alternator. And so if you're watching this now and you have deeper questions about this topic, go back to our show 2 weeks ago, and we did a real deep dive on this topic. But one thing that Sean said with Excess Power, he sticks with me, is that they've got this Triton series of batteries. It's a lithium-based battery, and they are so user-friendly. You can put them in a stock charging system, and they'll just charge like a normal car battery will. So you don't have to add any extra alternators or any upgrades to the computer or anything like that. It just works. And one of those is enough to power a Warhorse 3601 and a 1,000.4 Warhorse. So both Warhorse amplifiers with a high quality stock charging system, and one of those Triton batteries will work in a system. So watch that 2 shows ago and you'll get more information on that very topic. So good question. Next question, please.
Aaron, I think that was the Titan 8. Is that right? Not Triton.
Titan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Titan. I keep saying Triton. I've got Amber Heard in my head with the Triton, so that's not, sorry. Titanate. Thank you, Derek. I said that to Sean too. I'm like, Triton. He's like, no, Aaron, it's Titan. Okay, I'm sorry. I just got to get it out of my head. So, Phil, Mobile Sounds, good evening. Thank you for being here. How do you test whether you're getting the output from your alternator? How do you test your alternator? Parker, let's go with you first, sir.
So there's the redneck way to do it, which is just to to turn your car on and unplug the battery and see if it still keeps charging. If it doesn't, your alt's probably bad. You want to be careful doing that because your alt can spike and you could damage some computer components in your car. That being said, I have definitely done that. Another way is that generally your art is going to charge at a higher voltage than what your battery sits at. So you can use a multimeter if you're charging at 13.6. Your alt's probably on because normally a stock battery is only going to read up to 12.8 or so, and the battery is going to put a little bit of a draw. Anyway, yeah, basically, I mean those are kind of the two easy ways to test it out.
I like the redneck method myself.
And I think
keep it simple.
Can't they test that at an AutoZone or any of the auto parts stores when they do the battery test? Can't they also test the alt?
They can. I have gone to those though, and I've had one tell me my alt was bad and one tell me my alt was fine. So
that's because he hadn't had enough sales that day.
Probably. That's exactly.
And I think they're pretty low amperage. I don't think they would be able to do like a 300 amp alt.
Yes.
True that.
Yeah, good question. Big Z, good evening. Thank you for being here. So then, if you're setting amp gains and you have your head unit just under clipping, should you have your head unit EQs set to 0 or all the way pushed up?
Oh no, Big Z, 0.
Put it in the V pattern and you'll smile and it won't matter.
Absolutely.
So Parker, what about you, sir? How would you tell this gentleman to set his system up?
I would say set your EQ first, so that way you're happy with the overall sound. Then from there, you would then want to set the gain, because that way you'll if you have a way to figure out where it clips, you'll know where it clips with your system sounding as optimal as it can.
Yeah. So, and on the top of that, the problem I think in a lot of cases with getting real stressed about setting gains, because a lot of us will do the correct method and use the tools and set it to the overlap and all the things that we're told to do. But if you listen to different types of music, and I know a lot of people just listen to boosted bass music, but some people who listen to different genres of music, there's times when I don't have enough gain if I have the system set up right. Maybe it's a lower recording, or maybe it's an older recording, or something that's just not recorded at that higher level. So that's why I think, again, we're talking generics here and what should generally be done. But there's cases where you're going to need, hey, maybe I'll set it so it will go into clipping when I get to a certain point, knowing that that's what that point is. But if I'm listening to some lower volume recorded music, then I'll have that extra room there that I may need to get the volume that I want.
That's a great point. Yeah, thank you. So, Robert, you got anything to add to that? What's your method?
Yeah, I will say that were we talking a sub amp? Are we talking your mids and highs amp? There's several different things. I mean, obviously you're going to kind of want it. You don't really, I would rather EQ with an RTA in the beginning with pink noise. So I get a bass line, then I make the fine ear adjustments just to help me. I want to kind of correct the curve and see. I don't want it flat, but I kind of want like the JBL curve, and then I go from there. How each speaker's going to react a little bit different, but definitely. In a second, let me sidejack this. Speaking of sidejack, my buddy Dean from 5 Star Car Stereo. One of our pet peeves is people setting their mids and highs amps with the DD1 to get maximum output. You do not need 75 watts to your tweeters. Sometimes you may to your mid bass, but I think you trying to min max every single, get all the watts. That's unnecessary on the mids. Subs, sure. Subs, you want to get that very last drop that you can get out of it. But that's one of our pet peeves.
That's a really good point you bring up, Robert, because like our Street Series tweeters, they're rated at 50 to 75 watts. And man, that is a ton of power to your tweeters. And this is a trick that I teach people in training. If you think your system doesn't have enough bass, here's a trick. Before you drive home from this training tonight, go to your mid-high amplifier gains and back it off about 3 to 6 dB, and then drive home. And suddenly your system has way more bass, because relative to the highs where your ear was accustomed to the highs, suddenly the bass is boosted without actually boosting the bass. So this is an old trick that works really well, and it is always better to cut than it is to boost with equalizers and gains. So yeah, great topic. Frank, intermission. Frank, again. With power being so cheap these days, are systems playing much better or harder now versus 10 or 20 years ago? Good question. Derek, what do you think?
I think there's no doubt that they're playing louder now than they ever have. But, you know, we have to remember everything kind of works in a fashion where that the woofers get beefier. They work in smaller enclosures, but they require more power. So you buy bigger woofers, you have more power, then you need more electrical, then you need more wiring, you need more batteries. So I think it's a big conspiracy theory to get you to buy more stuff. If we had more efficiency going on, we wouldn't have to buy all this stuff.
Cut to commercial. Cut to commercial.
Speaking of which, new kicker battery, just
new kicker. No, you guys put me on here, so I'm gonna get you. No, seriously, it's unbelievable. You know, there was loud vehicles back in the day, but they were not loud at the low frequencies like they have today. There were woofers that were impressive back in the day, but nothing like there is today. So I don't think there's any argument if we're talking just loudness, which is better. Now, if you're talking the sound quality side, I mean, things have sounded pretty good for a while. And I think, you know, we can just do it probably better and easier these days, and also cheaper, like what Rob said, with the DSPs and having the really small Class D amps that you can fit anywhere. You can really have a nice stealth system, sound quality system these days for not near as much as they used to cost back in the 90s or so. Definitely.
Yeah, Parker, you're relatively new on the scene, as you pointed out. So yeah, we used to spend way more money to get the same out of what we can get today. It's a very different game. Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. It's way louder now than it was. There's several factors. I mean, I'm an old school guy. I used to be an SPL competitor. So I would like to be one of those guys like, oh, back in our day, we did 150 with 112. Well, back in our day, we were using an audio control mic, not a pressure meter. There's about, it's like 5 to 8 dB difference.
Yeah, I think Wayne said 8, yeah.
Yeah, between a audio control mic and a SPL meter.
Wow.
So if you were hitting 150 back in the day with your 415s, that will be like a 142 now with the pressure sensor. So it is quite a big difference.
And of course, as Parker knows, 160 is the new 150. So
that's all relative.
Right.
Ernie, next question, please, sir. Ronco, good evening. When is the new color scheme Q Class L7 coming out? The new color scheme. So L7, we talked about this a little bit earlier, and something is coming. I can't tell you what, I can't tell you when, but the Q Class L7 is a fantastic woofer. And just like the CVR, when it comes time to refresh a fantastic woofer, an iconic woofer, you've got to do it very carefully, because you have already got an expectation like this, and you don't want to go down here with the next level of performance. So we got to get it right before we can release it. So it's in the works.
I'd like to add to that. Don't look past the L7S subs. Those things are absolute beasts. Now there's different lines. You know, you had the L3 before the L5 and L7.
Yeah.
L7S is a fantastic sub. And in my experience, I've felt like I could push them maybe a little bit harder than Q Class. They're different subs a little bit.
It is different, yeah, different sonic signature.
Yeah.
Ouch's out. Boy, I'm not cool enough to say that. Parker, have you messed with any DefBon's head units? DefBon's head units.
Yes, they are coming out with a head unit, which I have one of them. I'm doing some testing on. It'll be cool. It's a head unit made directly for bass heads.
Nice.
I have not done a lot of testing yet. I just got it hooked up and kind of turned it on, but I'll be showing off that in my next video. So,
tell me please that there's one central knob for level control that doesn't require any menu, just a knob for level for the subwoofer, please.
For the subwoofer itself?
Yes, a knob.
It's just got one normal knob like any other head unit.
Yeah, okay. Well, so one of my big pet peeves with head unit companies is when you go to the subwoofer, you have to go through 5 layers of menus to adjust the song. The song's half over before I get to it. Come on, just give me a knob, which is why we offer bass knobs with everything we offer.
Which I feel like pretty much everybody has a bass knob now anyway. So that's
yeah. You gotta have a bass knob.
Kind of the standard if you have a sub.
I do want to put in a request. This is up, Parker. Can you see if you can blow some subs with that head unit? That would be epic.
I can try.
Baba, good evening, Baba. Question that's for me. Hi, what upcoming new product release can you share with us? Well, funny you should ask. Ernie, do you have this in the shot, or is that out of the shot? No, not in the shot. Okay, I'll just drag it over here. So the powered down-firing TRTP, we can see that? Okay, so this is being released. It's available now. This is a powered down-firing loaded enclosure that uses our Comp RT, which is our thin mount round subwoofer, and our bass reflex driver, which is a passive radiator. So this gives you the output of a ported box without a port. So it is physically smaller than a typical ported box, but you still get the same low bass output, and there's no huffing and chuffing because there's no port to make port noise. So you get all the benefits of a port and none of the downsides of a port, and it is amplified. So we've built in the proper amplifier. The 12-inch has a 500 watt amp, and the 10-inch has a 400 watt amplifier. And for most people, this is a perfect solution to give you all the bass you could possibly need in a very simple to install solution. So those are shipping now. Thank you for asking, and I didn't ask him to ask me that. It just happened to come up perfectly.
Hey, Aaron, does that have any quick disconnects on there? So if you want to pull it out, can you just unplug it?
Yes, and I'm going to try and, without breaking my fingernail, it's got a little recess on it so that you don't accidentally, but yes, it does have a quick disconnect, power ground.
Neat.
Yeah, probably Weco. Yeah, that's appreciated because I think a lot of people, who, even though that's a low profile box, it's still nice to be able to, remove it if you need the extra storage in your vehicle.
So earlier tonight, I said that we were listening to some subwoofer systems by R&D was doing a little show and tell with us. And I will say that they were demonstrating a not yet talked about product that was down-firing that was unlike anything you've heard before in a down-firing preloaded enclosure. So line up and ask Ernie for your samples because, wow, that was incredible.
I'm sure like a stack on top of each other in the trooper.
Oh, yeah. Bass stack them high and bass them hard. Big Z, this is a great channel and I love Kicker. Key 200 and key lock in my Escape. Thank you very much. That's a great combination. It's actually interesting because when we first released the Key LOC, people thought, well, but I've got a Key 204. I don't need a Key LOC. They do different things. So you definitely can use them both in the same system. Like the gentleman earlier said he's using 2 Key LOCs and a Key 204. So you can definitely use them in the same system. Clint Black. Is it the Clint Black? I hope. Yay, crew. What sounds best? 1 ohm, 2 ohm, or 4 ohm? Oh, I love this question. Parker, you go first. What's better, 1 ohm, 2 ohm, or 4 ohm?
I mean, the rule of thumb is that if you want quality, 4 ohm is going to be better. Even 8 ohm better than that. That being said, I do stuff with bass, and personally, I can't tell a difference between 4 ohm or half an ohm. So for the bass, I would say it doesn't make a big difference, but definitely for some of the other sound quality stuff, having the higher resistance can help.
Robert, what do you think?
Andy's already answered it for us. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So you're not going to wade into that battle, are you?
I think you're driving your amp harder. The lower impedance you go. Some are made for it, some aren't. If you can go 4 ohms on your sub, like Parker said, if you must have a golden ear if you can really tell it on your sub, or you're playing at 109 dB or something like that.
Yeah. Derek, what about you, sir?
Yeah, so obviously if you want to get louder, run it at lower ohm loads, but as far as the efficiency of the amplifier is going to do better at 4 ohms. Sound quality, if you do have the golden ear, will sound better at 4 ohms, but like these guys said, if you're running a subwoofer, most people can't hear that level of distortion difference. But I would remind people to, even though I'm not following or what they say, practicing what you preach, but when I show videos, I try to excuse me, I try to stress test the amplifiers. But what I would say is don't run a 2 ohm amplifier at 1 ohm, or don't run a 1 ohm amplifier at half an ohm, because it's really no different than running your Honda that redlines at 6,000 RPMs, running it at 7,000. Now, if it didn't have the rev limiter, yes, it could do it, but yes, you're going to decrease the life of the engine, just like you're going to decrease the life of your amplifier. So try to match them up if you can, and if you can test the impedance rise, like if you can use a meter or something to find out, hey, I'm wiring it at half an ohm, but I'm really getting 1 ohm throughout the spectrum that I'm listening to, then sure, you can wire it at 1 ohm, but just understand that in most cases you want to make sure you wire it to the recommended ohm load to get the longest life out of your equipment.
I'd like to add to that too, Derek. After training lots and lots of people over the years, there's a trick that I would give, particularly to retail partners that are selling kicker systems and other brands of systems as well. The ear can barely hear a 3 dB difference. Now the microphone, 3 dB is winners and losers all day long. But if you're just listening to music and you want to listen to it loud, or you want to listen to it at just a regular level, if you wire your subwoofers to 2 ohms versus 1 ohm, you're drawing much less current, essentially half the current. So you're not taxing your electrical system nearly as hard as you are at 1 ohm. And because you can't actually hear much of the difference, you're doing your system a service. Your subwoofer is going to live longer because your amplifier is never going to clip, or if it is going to clip, there's barely enough energy to damage your voice coil. So everything's more reliable at the higher impedances. So unless you're competing and you actually need that 0.1 dB to win, I would go to the higher impedance. In my own systems, I always go to the higher impedance. Reliability, longevity, for
so,
sure.
Aaron, what you're saying is you don't drive to work in first gear?
Reverse.
No, sir, I don't. Mark Bennett, good evening. Thank you for being here. So should you buy amps that are 2 and 3 times the power rating of your speakers just so you can set the gain extremely low so you have an extremely low noise floor? Robert, you're shaking your head. Go ahead.
All right, SQ guys, get ready to hate on me. It's unnecessary. Buy the proper size amp, gain match it properly, have the proper speakers or subs that go with the system. Match everything up. Match the wattage up, except for on the tweeter. A lot of people are going to say 50 watts. You probably need like 5 watts on your tweeter, but just match it up, gain match it properly, and quit worrying about what chuckleheads like me say on the internet.
Yeah. Derek, what do you think about that question?
Yeah, again, I think it's highly dependent on the type of music you listen to. If you listen to the 1812 Overture or something like that has extreme dynamics, then you might want to think about having that extra headroom and having a more powerful amplifier. But Can your system handle it is one thing. I don't think it's a bad idea to have more power, but you just have to understand if you have more power and you turn the gain down, then you still might have higher idle currents, which will require you to possibly have a secondary battery if you like to listen to it with your car off, things like that. So there are definitely some drawbacks to having more, but I don't think it would hurt. But I don't think it's necessarily going to make a huge difference unless you listen to a lot of music with very high dynamic range.
Parker, what do you think about this topic?
I would say in more of the bass head line of just stuff, I would say yes, you definitely do. Generally, you do want a bigger amp than what the sub is rated for if you want to get the max potential from your subs, just because, especially when you're dealing with a bigger system that's oftentimes is less efficient, you're going to get a lot of impedance rise. I'll have a sub wired down to 1 ohm and it'll rise up to 4 ohms. That happens all the time when I'm doing my tests. So having a much bigger amp really helps out. That being said, whether your amp is a lot bigger or if it's the right size, if you clip it, you can damage your sub either way. So having the bigger amp gives you less chance of clipping, but you know how people are, they always got to turn the gain up a little bit more and just keep pushing it. So I would say either way, you can end up blowing something.
Parker, you bring a great balance to this conversation because you really are in the basshead culture, the basshead world. And so you're bringing a great perspective on some of the things I hadn't really thought about. So thank you for bringing that to us. That's great.
Hey, Aaron, this is the last question.
Last question. Okay, Ernie's hollering at me. This is the last question. Bass up. Last question. What are your thoughts about the difference of the SMD AMM1 and the BHG meter? I've seen so much stuff. Keep up the great videos, guys. Derek, what do you think? Difference between SMD and BHG?
Yeah, I'll probably have to defer to Parker because I think he's the only one of the three of us that's played with the BHG. I did get one recently, and I just haven't had time to test it and play with it. I will say that it's like 1/4 or almost 1/5 the cost of the SMD AMM1.
Wow.
But if you're just looking for power output and you're looking for remote display, it looks like the BHG meter might work for you. But if you need all the extra features that the AMM1 has, which it doesn't just show power and do dynos, it does a lot of other things you can test in your system as well. So I think you just need to determine, what are you looking for, and if you're planning on mounting it permanently, based on what Parker and I have talked about, it sounds like the BHG meter might be a really good deal.
Yeah, I'll speak second so Parker can end on it. What I'll say is people forget, like, Parker has as much experience with AMM1 as anybody in this chat right now. We've all used it. So, and he's the only person that's used the BHG. So I see a lot of people giving him some crap in the comments. Like, Parker, he knows what he's doing. He's not a dummy on YouTube. Clearly, I mean, he does stuff for fun, and he does it on purpose. Like, he's not accidentally blowing subs up.
So yes, I made a video comparing these two, and I think some people, as what happens when you make YouTube videos, took some of it wrong, or they were, especially people that are hardcore SMD fans are going to really stand up for that product, which I believe it's a great product. That being said, the SMD meter is meant to be a tool, like a multimeter, whereas the Basshead Garage is meant to be a monitor, like you would have a voltmeter, a volt monitor on your dash. So they're really both meant to do two totally separate things. When I did the test, I did get different wattage readings from both, which is what started a lot of people talking about it. And people who loved SMD said the Basshead Garage unit was trash, and people that hate SMD said it was trash because of that video. I don't think that's true for either one. They both read. I did more testing that they both read the exact same amps, and they both read the exact same 8 AC voltage. It's just the power factor between the two of them was a little bit different, and I am not sophisticated enough to do the math to figure out which one is really right. That being said, I believe since the, if you need a watt meter, the basehead garage unit is so much cheaper, and again, it's the only unit really available on the market that you can mount on your dash and actually monitor your amps or your wattage. So for that purpose, it's a great little unit. Could it be reading the power a little bit lower than what's true? I mean, possibly, but it's just like with any multimeter, you can have one multimeter that reads your voltage at 12.8, and then you get another one and it reads it at 13.2, and which one's right? You never know, but it gives you that general area so you can see where you're at.
Yeah.
Well, I think the three of us can agree, like, the AMM1 is an awesome tool. It helped all of us build our channel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not showing a different product.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you hate the AMM1. It's just like,
No,
hey,
it's a great
this
product
for your use.
Yeah.
Check this out. You don't have to get the $400 AMM1. I'm doing that for you. You just use this little one that's what, $120 or $100.
Yeah, I think the other part too is since the basehead garage meter is kind of new, we don't, I guess, and maybe I don't, maybe you guys might know, but know the history of the development of the product.
Sure.
We have Tony DeMore, who used to be the lead engineer at Rockford Fosgate, is the one that developed the AMM1. So he's got a lot of background, a lot of history in engineering. He knows the audio side. Not saying that the basehead garage engineer doesn't know this. I'm just saying that you're comparing, a device that that I don't know who designed it, and if they come forward and explain it and tell us how it's really working and why we're seeing a little bit of a difference between the two, then I think that's important too. But what I would say is I wouldn't stand on a pedestal and say one is better than the other. I think what we kind of all agree here is that for the price, the basehead garage one is going to get you close, close enough. And plus it's a remote display, so you can have it mounted in your vehicle, and it's not very expensive. So this is not a game of, exacts anyway, because, it may not measure the exact power, but the AMM1 may be off in some cases. So I just think that overall for the money, it's pretty tough to beat the basehead garage, even though I haven't used it yet, just based on what Parker and I have talked about. I think it's pretty much no brainer.
Well, gentlemen, that's a great discussion to have. And it looks like Mark says BHG meter is great. It'll let you know how much power I'm not getting out of my amp due to impedance rise and lack of electrical. It's telling me what I don't have, so that's important information too. So this is the part of the show where I got to do the housekeeping, and if you guys want to stick around, you're welcome to. If you don't want to stick around, you want to go be with your families, that's great too. So what do you guys think? Have we talked enough, or do you want to stick around?
Can I say something real quick, Aaron?
Yeah, go ahead.
So first off, thanks for having us on tonight. I appreciate you guys having us. You're great to the community. You're one of the only car audio channels that, or car audio companies that does these type streams and involves people in the community. Thank you for that. And I also want to remind people that a company like Kicker, and this, I'm not paid to say this, I'm a fanboy, okay, just get over it. But Kicker's been around, this is their 50th anniversary this year. There's been a lot of car audio companies come and go that have been sold over the years, and a lot of times people will complain that Kicker products cost more than others, but I think what you may not consider in that is the R&D that goes into their products. Their amplifiers are, in-house designed, and then they're tested brutally. Same thing with their subwoofers and their speakers and everything. And I think that, like, when Parker tests the cheaper, tests the cheaper equipment and I test the cheaper amps, those are fine for you to get started off. But when you want something that's going to last a while, it's nice to know the company that's been around for a while and that has people who are enthusiastic about car audio. And honestly, that's why I've been a fan of Kicker for so long, because you guys just do a great job. Steve Irby is, he's a great owner, and he knows which route to go to lead Kicker. And I'm just proud to be associated with you guys and what you've done over all these years, and that you've stayed a private company, after 50 years. And so, anyway, off my soapbox, but thank you guys for all that you do.
Thank you, Derek. It's beautiful. Appreciate that, man. sometimes we forget inside this building. Sometimes we forget how unusual, how the unicorn. We live with the unicorn, and sometimes we forget. So thanks for reminding us of that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, can you also ask Steve? I talked to him about adopting me. Never got that, so.
Well, he's got a son and a daughter. I don't know if he's looking for more kids or not. Well, thank you. So, well, then if there's nothing else, gentlemen, you're welcome to stick around while I do the housekeeping, or you can sign off. It's whatever you want to do.
I'll stick around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, stick around. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, then the next part of our show is the Q&A, the questions, the technical questions. And so I've got a couple questions here. The first one is, I've got an old KXA 801 mono amplifier. It has the Bluetooth bass knob. So this is a few years old now. The Bluetooth knob quit working ever since, and the amp quit working too. I put my hand on the subwoofer, I can feel it moving, but it barely makes any sound. What is the deal? So if the bass knob loses its pairing to the amplifier, the most thorough way to repair it is to disconnect power, ground, and turn on from the amp. And then just take a piece of wire and short the power and ground together, and that'll discharge all the capacitors in the amplifier. You get a little spark, that's okay. Discharge the caps in the amplifier. That completely resets the DSP in the amplifier. And then reconnect it, fire it back up, and then the remote will repair to the amplifier and it'll work perfectly. So that's how you handle that situation. Next question, CXA 801. So different amplifier, same power rating, but this is the CX series. I tried connecting the bass knob, but unfortunately the cable wrapped around my foot when I stepped out of the car and it yanked it out of the amplifier. Okay, so let's set the stage. So you've got the bass knob mounted, but the cable is not run or not managed, so the cable's down in the footwell. It's wrapped around your foot. You get out of the pickup truck, and it rips it out of the amplifier. So now it's not working properly. It doesn't produce any sound unless the cable is halfway in the amplifier. This definitely needs to be serviced by us here at Kicker, so please uninstall the amplifier. Call technical support or customer service. They'll get you over to customer service, and we'll give you a return authorization. You send it back to us, we'll repair it, and then send it back to you. It's definitely not going to be under warranty, but I can tell you it is not expensive to repair most of our amplifiers. In fact, Bill back in repair, he says most amplifiers we can fix for about 65 bucks. And then you pay shipping one way, we pay shipping the other direction. So yes, we can take care of that for you, no problem. And next time, proper cable management. There's a whole YouTube side of the internet on how to properly install amplifiers and do your beautiful wires and such. So definitely follow those guys and girls over there. So those are the two questions of the night. Let's see, next, this is everyone's favorite is the fail picks. We're gonna do some fail picks. Get ready to laugh here. Now, as always, if you see your picture in our fail section, please don't take it personally. We're not trying to make fun of you. We're just learning as a group of guys and girls on what not to do together. So Ernie, if you could pull up my laptop, here's the first one. Ernie found this. So this is a circuit breaker that has been mounted to the dash, on the surface of the dash, right below the trunk pop, or the hood pop. So this is right where your shin goes. So this guy must be very short, or maybe it's a petite young lady, and she's not banging her shins against this thing. Because you can see here's the brake pedal. No, I'm sorry, that's the emergency brake, or the parking brake. And then this is probably the brake brake. So this circuit breaker is in a terrible location. Also on circuit breakers, we don't offer circuit breakers to Kicker, and the main reason is if your circuit breaker pops and all you do is reset it and carry on with life, you didn't fix the problem. You just put a Band-Aid on it. And it's really important that you figure out why the circuit breaker popped before you just reset it and carry on. So it's good to understand why circuit breakers are great, but they have a limitation, and that is, well, they're just too easy to reset and not fix the problem. So next up, this is a power wire fail. So this looks like probably a 4-gauge wire running through a metal hole in the dash with no grommet, no protection. And what's going to happen is this wire is going to rub and rub and rub. It's going to go right through the insulation, and next thing you know, you've got a short circuit. And hopefully it's fused, but even if it is fused, you're going to get a really hot big chunk of copper running through your car. Next up, I think this guy maybe he's a beta tester for radar detectors, or maybe he just drives really fast and he wants to verify that he's going to get a ticket 3 times. But that is 3 radar detectors mounted on top of the dash. Oh, and Ernie says perhaps he can't see out of his window anymore. That's definitely possible. Next up, so this down here, if you look closely, this is actually the hands-free microphone that is down in the door jamb. And so you're probably going to have to shout to be heard in that installation there. So that's definitely not the best location to mount that microphone.
Hey,
so
Aaron,
those are the...
It could be that it slides up like it's on the cable. He just slides up and he puts it right here on his shirt. And then he lets it back down. So, hey, it could be genius. Who knows?
Derek, thank you. You might be right. I want you to be right. Okay. Let's say that Derek is right. That guy's a genius. All right, so this time for cool picks. Now, before I show you some of the cool picks, I do want to say that a few days ago, we got a really nice long email to Kicker. It wasn't to technical support, it was to customer service. And it was a very long email that said wonderful things about Kicker from this gentleman. His name is Randy Green. And I want to show you a picture of Randy while I tell you this story. Ernie, show us this, if you could, this picture here. So this is Randy in August of 1993. This is a Saturday, and Randy and his mom drove from Wichita, Kansas to Stillwater to visit Kicker World headquarters. This is the old headquarters. So back in 93, we were up on Perkins Road in an old car dealership. And he wanted to visit Kicker. So he and his mom drove on a Saturday, and of course we're closed on Saturday. So he shows up, looks at the door is locked and closed, but somebody in the office saw him, opened the door and said, "I'm sorry, we're closed today, but here's some stickers for you." So he left with some stickers and this great photo from 1993. And so when we got this email, it circulated the whole building because it was such a beautiful email of appreciation for the brand and for the company and telling us the story. I reached out to him and I said, "Sir, if you're interested, I would love to give you a full Kicker tour if you're in town again." And he said, "I would love it. I'd be honored to." And so he and his new wife, he got married last weekend, he got married. He and his new bride are going to come down to Kicker and have a full-blown tour. And that is this gentleman, August 18th of this year. And that's his Kicker setup. It's a Q-Bomb box with 2 of our comp subwoofers in it. And that is what he's rocking. And he's going to drive down here from Wichita, Kansas and take a great tour with us. And I'm so excited to meet this gentleman. After reading his email, his sweet email, we're going to show him a really nice time. So I wanted to share that with y'all. So next up, some more cool picks. And what we're going to do is the Kicker Club, Andy's Kicker Club, has so many great pictures that I'm just going to show you some of what's going on there. Actually, Ernie, go ahead, pull up my here we go, my laptop. So this is, in Japan, Kicker is a really big deal. And we have a distributor partner over there, OG, and he does an incredible job of representing Kicker in Japan. And so this is one of the installs from the car show that he puts on. And if you take a look at this, the work in this vehicle, beautiful install. Those are our 10-inch L7Q class. And he's got the amplifiers beneath the plexiglass, and here's a fan right here in the middle. And then he's got his battery. Very, very nice install. There's another angle, same trunk. Some people ask often, what's the benefit of inverting the subwoofers? Panelists, what do you guys think about inverting the subwoofers? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, 2 things. for looks and for airspace.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Parker, what were you going to say?
I was going to say the same thing. You want to see that big beefy motor. sticking
Yes,
out, so.
yes.
But yes,
Yeah.
there are a lot of practical reasons to do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
You're not going to get any arguments on this panel here. We like to see the backside.
All right, thank you. I agree. It's airspace and cosmetics. And that's the same install there. This is looks like a gentleman about to do a crazy big build, and these are the Solberg L7S's. Robert, you mentioned these earlier. Fantastic subwoofer. They get down, they get mean, and they're not as expensive as the Q-Class L7.
Budget bangers.
And they're in stock.
Budget bangers for sure.
This is the last picture I wanted to show. This is really a neat build. I'm not sure what kind of car this is, but this is what we call the ski boot subwoofer install, where probably a Mercedes, BMW, Audi, one of those vehicles, where you've got that seat section that folds down, and literally the skis can pass through there. You take out that ski boot and you put in a subwoofer, and you get all the bass in the car. None of it's wasted. And just looks like a good install and great bass performance and no lost space. So I love this kind of a subwoofer setup. So that is all for the cool picks. And upcoming events, XRV is going to be driving our own JW. And did we tell the world that Bambrow is now a CDL guy? Stephen Bambrow passed his CDL, his commercial driver's license, this week, and so he is now an XRV driver. So he and JW are going to be team driving the Kicker XRV, the extreme recreational vehicle, the huge semi-tractor trailer that we have. They're going to be driving that out to Maryland for Jeep Fest, which is coming up I think it starts Friday, August 22nd through 25th. And Carlos Jimenez, who's on my team, he's also going to be out there. And it is a great show. If you're in the Maryland area up in New England, check out that show. It's incredible. They're actually doing full installs under the tents on the beach at this event. And it is crazy. If you're into Jeeps, this is the Jeep lifestyle at its finest. So check out that event. And then in Costa Mesa, California, September 20th and through the 22nd, the Sand Sports Super Show is happening. We're also going to be at that event with a presence and some of our guys and girls hanging out up there. That's a great show. And that same weekend, Jacob on my team as well, Jacob Lucky, he's going to be at Knowledge Fest. And Knowledge Fest is in Dallas this time around. You do have to be in the industry, or if you're one of the guys on our panels, you're very famous in the industry, you can also get invited to those shows. But this is specifically for our retail partners and specialists. And Knowledge Fest, as it sounds, it's knowledge. We train the guys and girls, and they get to see a lot of demonstrations, some hands-on stuff, some technical stuff, as well as some new products. So that's a great show if you're in the industry or if you're affiliated with the industry. You definitely want to check that out. And of course, Bass Wars, Billy Temple and the Bass Wars, all over the U.S. If you want to find out the specific locations and dates, go to the Kicker Facebook page and go into the events section. We have all of them listed right there. Or you can just Google Bass Wars and you'll find that information. So those are the events coming up. Prizes. I want to remind you guys and girls that we have a $2,500 shopping spree with your personal shopper, Mr. John Myers. He is going to help you spend your $2,500. Now, the guys who are watching this tonight, you cannot win. I apologize, but you know, family can't win the prizes. It's got to be our guests. So yes, $2,500 shopping spree. And it can be marine products, it could be car audio, it could be power sports, it can be virtually anything that we have to offer. $2,500 goes a long way, and John Myers is your personal shopper. And that contest ends, I've got that written down here, that ends October 15th. So you've got until October 15th to enter, and that is kicker.com/giveaway. So kicker.com/giveaway, and you can enter as many times as you want. So go ahead and stuff the ballot box. Just, you know, not in November, please. So up till October 15th, stuff the ballot box. Tonight,
Aaron,
we're going to...
Sorry, Aaron, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I had an idea for a future giveaway. Do you remember the old school where they used to give you a shopping cart and let you run through and throw things in your cart? I think
Yes.
you guys should consider that for a future one. That would be so awesome. Fly
Run
somebody
through
out.
research and development.
Yeah, give them a shopping cart and give them a free tour, and then say, you got.
Dude, if you guys
20
let me do that, I know where all the good stuff is. I will go.
I remember they used to do it at toy stores when I was a kid, and I was like, man, I would love to do that. And of course, now as we're adults, Kicker is kind of the toy store. So I think you guys should think about that.
Ernie, write that down. That is a great idea. Wow. Oh, Ernie wants to do it in the warehouse, but it's all brown boxes. You want a whole pallet of amplifiers? Here you go. That's a terrible idea. Ernie says you got to be able to pick it up without a pallet jack.
Yeah, I have plenty of terrible ideas, so just ask me for more.
But it is a good visual. All right, so let's give away some stuff tonight. Man, it is already 9:15. Holy cow. Let's give away some stuff for tonight. So third place winner, Tim H. from Oklahoma. Tim Horton from Oklahoma. No, not Tim Horton. Tim, Oklahoma. You're the third place winner. What do you win? You get the EB400 in-ear monitors, the t-shirt, and 2 koozies. Second place winner, let's pull up second place. Christina N. from Texas. Christina, you're the second place winner. You get the TW2 in-ear true wireless monitors, the t-shirt, and 2 koozies. First place winner, Jason M. from Louisiana. Jason, you're the number 1 winner. You get the Bullfrog t-shirt and 2 koozies. Woohoo! That's our 3 winners. I do want to let you know that Andy is doing a show tonight, so if you want to continue the conversation, tune into Andy's show. There's a lot to talk about. We have a lot of unanswered questions, so I'm sure that Andy will pick up some of that slack for us. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. And the next Unmasked is Tuesday, September 3rd. So September 3rd, that's 2 more weeks. We'll be back with you. That is the next show. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here tonight. It has been a pleasure to get to talk with you guys again. And Parker, your first time on the show, thanks for being here. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
If you guys have any closing thoughts, now's the time to share them with us.
Yeah, I mean, I have some. I would say they're probably going to say it as well, but subscribe to Wilson Audio Labs, Old School Stereo, subscribe to Parker the Bass Egg, Hi-Fi Vega. If you remember 12V Talk, maybe if you're not sub, maybe sub back to there, and maybe at some point you'll see something on there. Just saying.
12V Talk. Okay, you started a rumor tonight, sir.
Yeah.
And it won't take as long as the Solo X did.
Ow!
And
They're never going to invite me back.
And
Commercial.
and we'll play below 40 hertz.
What? But there's no useful information below 40 hertz. Parker, what say you, sir?
I just want to say thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun, and really appreciate it. And it was good getting to talk to everybody.
Thank you, Parker. It's a pleasure having you on. This will not be the last time. You've been a great guest, and we'd love to have you back as well. So, gentlemen, thanks for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to say goodnight to you, gentlemen.
Good night.
Back to your families, back to your new wife, Parker.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been a lot of fun. I can't believe how fast that time went by. Wow, it is 9:15, and my daughter is probably waiting up for me, but she has to go to first grade tomorrow, so I hope she's in bed. And I was thinking about something I want to share with you before I close tonight. Most things in life we cannot control, but something you can control is your attitude. So think about that as you go to bed tonight. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.